Okie dokie boys and girls, it is day 360 of bulking to 75 kilos with calisthenics only, and today we have another pull day. I'm gonna be doing some front lever pull-ups and I'm gonna be creative with it because creativity is quite an important aspect of training in my opinion, you know. In training there are two important parts. You first have to realize what your body needs, whether it's a lighter stimulus or it's a heavier stimulus or, you know, a lot of volume or, you know, maybe some intense sets, right? You have to realize what you need, but then also you have to know, right, how you can achieve it. So that's called creativity, because if you're creative with your training, you can think of many ways to do your sets and your entire workout, and basically that will allow you to have many different choices on how you can achieve what you need in your workout. So for example, today I need a lighter stimulus, and there are many ways to achieve it. You know, you can reduce reps, add more rest time, so on and so forth. But one of the ways that I like to make my trainings lighter while still being challenging is to, first of all, focus on form, but also remove, well, I guess it goes hand in hand, like remove the kipping, remove the momentum and so forth. And, you know, there are a couple ways you can do it, right? You can remove the momentum by adding a sort of tempo to your reps. So for example, on the pull-up, you could, you know, 1 second go up and then 1 second go down and do it in a sort of, right, repeated pattern with a certain timing to it. But you can also do is just statics, right? We all know the pull-up where you move, but you can also do just a static hold where you hold at the top or you hold in the middle or you hold at the bottom. If you're static, you're not using momentum, right? Everything in the momentum is skilled. And that's the second one, is what I'm gonna do today. So for me, in the front lever pull-up, my weak point, so to speak, is relatively speaking the front lever touch, right? Where you pull up and you hold the position at the top. That's called the front lever touch, right? And it's more difficult than a front lever anyway, but for me especially, I just feel weak in that position. So what I'm gonna do today is I'm gonna drastically reduce the amount of reps that I'm doing in one set, which is gonna make the set lighter, but I'm also just gonna make it challenging by holding that top position. And it's gonna be easier to recover from in theory, because at the top you're using smaller muscles. So smaller muscles, you know, they're easier to recover, I guess, right? And so while it's still going to be a challenging workout, it's going to be easy to recover from, and that's basically exactly what I want. And there are many ways to achieve it, but this is just the option I'm trying today. So creativity, very important, you know. Don't box yourself in with like a few training methods, because the more tools you have, you know, the more purposes you can fulfill, I guess. But let's do a warm-up set. All right, feels decent. So yeah, let's go. First of all, 5 sets of 5 pull-ups, followed by a maximum touch hold. Only 6 seconds. Perhaps I have to do this training more often. All right. Whew. Form is not perfect yet, but I think if I do this training a couple more times, I can get some newbie gains in the front lever touch, and that's what it's all about. You know, you try some new stuff, you find a new way to improve, and then you actually get stronger. If you're always stuck in the same kind of trainings, well, of course you're gonna hit some walls. You know, every now and then, your body is tired of getting the same stimulus over and over and over again, and well, as Arnold would say, you have to surprise the body, you have to surprise it with something new every time. Well, today I think I succeed in that, but Anyway, 5 sets of 5 pull-ups to touch done. And now I'm basically gonna do some more front lever. Usually I would finish the workout with some regular pull-ups, but today, I don't know why, I just don't feel like it. So I'm gonna do some more front lever sets instead. I feel like, I can do some front lever sets, focus on the form and not going to the max, and then basically get a light stimulus that way, which is gonna benefit me. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna remove this imaginary weight because, well, I might not have mentioned it before, but this weight is basically like when I have the weight on, I try not to think about it, but when I take it off, I try to use it as a mental advantage to, like, as a reason that I should be able to do a longer set, So I'm gonna take the weight off, I'm gonna feel light, I'm gonna do a front lever touch hold, and then lower down into a regular front lever and do some presses, and it's gonna be a good finisher set. So let's go. All right. Okie dokie, so that's it for today's training, and well, I think creativity saved the day. That was a good stimulus, and well, you might be thinking like, Timmy, what the hell? That wasn't creative. You did the same thing that you always do. You did the front lever. What's different, right? And well, I think oftentimes when we think about switching things up, we think about like changing the movements completely, doing a completely different workout, but oftentimes, I would say in most cases, right, that's not needed, because especially when you're aiming for strength and not for a physique, when you're aiming for strength, it's important to stick to your bread and butter. It's important to stay consistent with the exercises you're doing. And well, if you're tired of eating your bread and butter, guess what? You can still make toast and have a different experience. You can stick to your exercise, right? In my case, the front lever, just slightly change the approach and get an entirely different stimulus for it. Because as long as you're not used to what you're doing, it's something new. And first of all, right, if you're looking for a light stimulus, you're not going to be able to push yourself as far because you're not used to it, but also because you're not used to it, you're getting different kinds of newbie gains. For me as well, the front lever touch, I don't train it for like long holds often, right, at all, and that's why I'm weak at it. But at the same time, if I do train it, that also means that I can make some quick gains on that, And by doing so, right, different stimulus, different types of gains, basically filling up the weak spots, filling up your holes, and, getting a strong base to build that higher staircase that I was talking of in, I think, one of the previous videos, right? If your goal is very high to reach, you need to build a staircase to reach it, right? To climb up and then reach your goal, right? But you're not going to be able to build a staircase if your base isn't, if your foundation isn't there. And by doing these little different stimuli for the same exercise, you're building the foundation for that exercise, right? And that's how you're gonna get stronger in the end. So I feel like I was really able to do that today. And guess what? By doing so, by trying different things, by being creative, you're gonna find multiple ways of getting strong. And the more ways of getting strong you have, well, the stronger you're gonna get. I think that makes sense. But yeah, that's it for today's exercise. Well, I guess that's true as well. That's it for today's training. And well, it was quite a short one, 7 sets. 4 minutes of rest in between, so about half an hour. And well, I was happy with how it went, so I'm just gonna head downstairs, have some dinner, and I'll see you tomorrow for a leg day.